Over the last 25 years of my life, I've taken, or at least tried, 28 martial arts. Today, I'm going to recount my favorite things I've learned from each one, while also trying something new.
One of the main reasons that I wanted to start this channel was because I wanted to try as many things as possible. And obviously, I've tried a lot of things. So today, I'm going to go through a list, and honestly, I might even have missed some. Anyway, we're gonna start off with capoeira. But anyway, this is a style that really emphasizes the flow of movement. Having something that is very consistent and moving all the time and then bam, hits you, you're not sure when it's gonna hit you because the movement never really stopped. You're kind of always worried about when something's gonna hit you, and then on top of that, it's coming from all these different angles, and they really emphasize movement that you're not sure where it's gonna hit you either. That and a constant connection to the floor are like my three big takeaways from the style.
Now, I've only talked about one martial art so far, but each one I learn helps me build and makes me better. So I figured for this video, I would also just build something that makes me better, literally.
I'm not like a big builder, but today I want to build something. I probably should have done this a long time ago. Something I want to have at the house, and something I think is going to challenge me. I can't tell you too much because then it would entirely give away what I'm building. But I'm going to figure out exactly how I'm doing this, and I need to write some stuff down first.
What I feel like I learned about Krav Maga is that details don't really matter the way we give them credit for in the martial arts community.
The directions all seem kind of like long and convoluted, so I'm just gonna look at somebody else's and see if I can like see what each piece looks like. And then I could probably use some spare wood that I have in the back.
I learned that trimming down the detail and focusing on like the big picture things that matter.
It seems like I really just need this one thing.
Like framing and sprawling and throwing a 1-2, stuff like that is incredibly important when you're going against like the average person. What I learned from Wing Chun, whether or not it was on purpose, was the importance of being able to fit a punch where it fits. If you talk to most martial artists about like how to incorporate power and strength and stuff like that, they'll talk about like rotating over and putting your entire body into it. But what Wing Chun does is it kind of like narrows the circumstances and it says, okay, you are right here, push it forward, which fits through a lot of people's guards. Being able to sneak one in like this tends to find a match a bit more than this, where there's a lot more movement involved with it. Does it hit as hard? No. Now, what did I learn from boxing? Your upper body is very much connected with your lower body, no matter what. So while it might seem like throwing a bunch of punches is easy, if the second you start moving and moving your head, your upper body, your lower body, everything gets more difficult. And the more you throw really hard punches, the easier it is for you to get off balance.
Now listen, there's 28 of these, so some of these I'm gonna have to fly through. We're gonna talk about buhurt and tai chi next. Now buhurt and tai chi are complete opposites when you think about it. But the takeaway that I had with both of them was the same. Breathing. With tai chi, you're slowing down and focusing on your breathing, which lets you be completely encompassed in the moment you're in. Now with buhurt, you're going so hard, so fast, and carrying so much weight that the oxygen consumption you need is insane. If you don't give your breathing the respect it deserves, then you will ultimately fail. Also with buhurt, I learned that the name makes sense. It do hurt.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What I learned about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that there is 10 times more information that can be found on a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mat than pretty much any other martial art. I learned this is nothing but a long game. If you want to be one of the best, you have to really study. And martial arts, this one specifically, are a lot more thought-provoking than people give it credit for. Other than the actual knowledge itself, what I learned from Jiu-Jitsu is that you have to be able to be relaxed and strong at the same time. Learning not to meet every obstacle with brute strength is pivotal for Jiu-Jitsu. And to be honest, it kind of carries over in life too. Being able to look at things from a different angle. Like, yeah, maybe this triangle doesn't work from here, but if I like lay down, or I don't know, some cool Jiu-Jitsu thing. If you see it from a different perspective, then maybe the thing you were trying before works out. I'm just realizing that what I did didn't make any sense. That piece itself doesn't have to look pretty. I think as long as I get like the thing as a whole, then I'll be happy. Now these are safety glasses, but I would imagine the thing I'm safest from is human interaction. Okay, I believe it said 3/8.
Measurements are important pretty much everywhere in life, but I don't think anything more so than fencing. Fencing's a game, while yes, it's a long sword, everything is reflected into this small point. It's really a game of inches like no other style.
You know, I even took shop in high school, and all it was kids sneaking out in the middle of the day to go get Bojangles. And the kids like bullied the teacher so bad. And the teacher, this is unplugged by the way, and the teacher was like, okay guys. They didn't even ask if he wanted anything. I guess we'll just keep going down the list. Sambo, the Russian style of, you name it. It's kind of like Russian MMA. It's a bit of a mix of like judo and wrestling and kickboxing, a little bit of jiu-jitsu mixed in there. If you look at Sambo, in my opinion, like the kickboxing isn't as crisp as like Muay Thai or Dutch style. The wrestling is a little less crisp than if you look at strict wrestling. But what I learned from Sambo is that if you are constantly pressuring your opponent, it doesn't have to be perfect technique. Look at me go, that's not bad. Oh. That's a little bad. It's fine. Putting a strong pressure on somebody else is probably going to make them have more mistakes than you are. It's not like it's sloppy by any means. It's just so on top of you all the time. Sambo is hard. Sambo is hard.
For the next portion, I'm going to lump together wushu, kung fu, tricking, and parkour, because while maybe they're not the most fighting-based martial art, I think they have extreme importance in gaining athleticism. It's never going to be a bad thing that you can move your body in ways that other people can't. In fact, I think it gives you way more benefits, like balance, break falls, end of motion strength.
Sumo wrestling. Now, sumo is one of the most fun styles that I've tried out of all of these lists. It is you versus the person in front of you. Even the rituals and the things they do before their match show that there's nothing between you and the person across from you. What I feel like I learned from sumo is like the importance of strength and explosiveness, the importance of redirection. There's not a lot of styles that have more control over their body than sumo.
See, a lot of people think of sumo as the movement of someone else's body, and that is true, but you can't control someone else's body until you have complete control of your own. And speaking of complete control of your body, funny enough, I actually learned the same thing from Systema. Systema
on this list is probably like one of the bottom 3 most disliked by the martial arts community. What I learned with Systema is, I would say, body awareness. For example, we did a series of movements where we just tried to roll around the room as well as we could without making like a lot of noise and also not touching anybody around us. So not only are we entirely aware of every part of our body, but also of the bodies around us. A lot of people would argue with like the punching mechanics that go behind it, that maybe they're too big and they're too over-exaggerated. And I think that's fair. But like I mentioned before, I do think that there is some benefit of practicing things in an over-exaggerated manner. Now, if that's how you always think it's gonna work, that's a different story. No, I'm so dumb. I did the wrong everything I just did, I just undid. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Oh, I should have thought more about it. Maybe should have hired somebody else to do this. Yeah, hiring is hard though. You know, it could be faster and easier though. If you use the sponsor of today's video, ZipRecruiter, the faster, smarter, and easier way to hire. So ZipRecruiter essentially works like this. Let's say I need to hire somebody for a job. I need a job, and specifically, I need to hire somebody for a job that has this shirt. Hey, I also have this shirt. Of course you do. See, ZipRecruiter has powerful matching technology that helps them find the right candidates for your job based off the qualifications that you set. See, in all actuality though, it wouldn't like be this shirt. The qualifications you would set would be like, is proficient in Excel or like has a degree in bioengineering. I don't have either of those things. I know, man, I just asked that you had the shirt for an example. Okay, cool. And once you find your quality candidates, which by the way, 4 out of 5 employers who use ZipRecruiter find their quality candidate within the first day. But anyway, once you find that person, you can simply click a button, send them a personal invite that has a pre-written message, which gives you an opportunity to get them to apply for the job faster. Hey, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt what you're doing, but I really want this. Seth, you're just me over there, man. You're just like a metaphor for the situation so I can What do you mean? It's not that confusing. Much like ZipRecruiter's user-friendly dashboard, which is essentially a one-stop shop for you to use a bunch of tools to filter, rate, and review candidates for your jobs. And now you yourself can figure out how much easier it is to hire with ZipRecruiter. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Sensei Seth to try ZipRecruiter out for free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Rated #1 among hiring sites. I like this guy. Me over there. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/SENSEISETH. So when do I start? Oh no, you're still just metaphor. Oh, if I would have taken 2 seconds to just slow down a little bit. Oh, that sucks. I could have looked at what I was doing and realized, hey, that's not right. I mean, it's salvageable, obviously, right? I could just do the other way. I can do that. This is fine. This is fixable. Now, if there is a style that has an emphasis on balance, there are none more than judo. I think judo taught me that balance is not only being able to keep your feet in one position and your body in one position, but more so being able to adapt and find your balance in the movement. So maybe my foot gets swept, but I can pick the other one up and replace it. That's balance, rather than just not having that foot move in the first place.
And I think this is fair for most grappling styles, but let's take wrestling for consideration. Half the time, their balance isn't on their feet. It's on another person, it's on top of somebody, it's underneath. And then with MMA, it's a balance of other styles. Kicking, punching, wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, it's a balance of all of those things. Also, MMA is a style. I don't care what you say. If you can take an MMA class, MMA is a style. Anyway.
I think what made building this so, like, appetizing to me, we got so much random stuff. Like, I don't really care if it looks stupid, if it looks terrible, nobody ever... I was gonna say nobody's ever gonna see it. It could be an opportunity for me to find something that I enjoy doing, then I don't really lose. The time isn't time lost because, like, I was trying, you know? If I have an optimistic mindset throughout the whole time, even if I lose, yeah, I'll be a little bummed, but it's not like I had like this big piece of me that I lost. And I think that's kind of the same mindset that I've had throughout all of these styles, is that, you know, like, so what if I'm not good at it? But in my head, I know that I had fun doing it. So, like, what's the loss?
Kalaripayattu. Now, kalaripayattu is supposedly one of the oldest martial arts, dating back like 3,000 years. It's an Indian martial art that comes from Kerala. What I learned from this martial art is to look around you for inspiration for things that could work for you. Except it's a lot different for this one. They literally look at the animals around them, much like Kung Fu, think about what their best attribute is, and then they use it. They have an elephant stance, tiger stance, or like a tiger strike. Much like Kung Fu, a lot of their movements and styles come from things that they admire most in the surroundings around them, and in this case, being animals.
What's gonna be really funny about this is that I'm gonna probably make 2 communities really mad by doing this. The first one's definitely the woodworking community.
Tibetan hop guard Kung Fu at 7-Star Kung Fu Academy. This is a Kung Fu that is hard knocks. And while focusing on smaller details, a lot of the training that I did had to do with really massive movements. Learning how to utilize the strong muscles in your body and then making the smaller parts stronger through conditioning.
Okay, so we're just gonna put this bad boy dead center.
Next is Jikundo. This style really emphasizes the exploration of martial arts, the learning of it. You can't really figure out whether or not a square peg will fit into a round hole until you try.
Are you joking right now? How did I pick the screw with this bit? I accidentally picked a 6-point screw.
I've also dabbled quite a bit in the Filipino martial art called Kali, a style that helped me understand that you can create a flow to cause damage, and that sometimes it's more important to use an analog of what you're practicing with rather than, in this case, a sword, but a different tool that is harder to train with.
Luckily I have what I need.
This is so dumb. Hey, I mean, you know what though, honestly? It feels wrong to say it this early, because I feel like I'm just gonna jinx myself, but I think this is actually, like, not terrible. I think it's actually kind of good.
With Taekwondo, I learned that being able to use movement and the longest parts of your body, being your legs, does a really good job of one, chasing people down, but two, moving away from people. So maybe defensively I can get like a couple hops back and I'm out of range, but what if they're so fast that they're charging towards me? Well, if not that, I can use my legs, something really long, to keep them away from me still. That's been some of my favorite parts of learning a bit of Taekwondo. For me, more so, Taekwondo has been about the athleticism that goes behind the kick. I also learned that kicks are easily the most powerful strike, and they're not exactly as clear and concise as you might imagine. There's a lot of different ways you can throw a single kick. The difference in karate and Muay Thai and Taekwondo's roundhouse kicks are very different, but they're all the same kick. So even with kicking, which is pretty much just moving two halves of a leg in any given direction, there's so many different ways you can do it, even within the same movement.
For the style ninjutsu, I learned that moving in unique ways will often catch people off guard. For historical European martial arts, I learned to look back to when a tool was used most if you want to learn about it. And for historical African martial arts, learn to use the settings and tools around you to your advantage.
The art of 8 limbs is next, and this one is the second most practiced style that I have done. With Muay Thai, I learned the importance of keeping a good base.
Now, next we're going to, oh, this is too thick.
A lot of the stuff that they do is designed to either chop down your legs, to sweep your feet out from under you, to turn your head, or to break your balance.
Give it at least a little bit more support.
It's also just as important for me to learn that sometimes I just have to be able to throw up a check and look at things in front of me. Because what if my leg was hurt? What if I couldn't move around? What if I was stuck in a small corner? It also taught me the importance of variance of strikes. Like, for example, a Muay Thai elbow might seem like a really hard, brutal thing, but in all actuality, it's using something that's very small and flowing to cut. Completely different than throwing a really hard roundhouse kick, which is hoping to fold somebody in half. Two very different types of strikes that can happen within sequence really quickly of each other.
Okay. I think it's done. Okay, so the next point would probably be the rope. I don't know exactly how you would tie this. I can probably assure you it's not supposed to be like this.
Aikido. Aikido taught me that everything is not always what it seems. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people that teach Aikido teach it in the way that it seems. I got lucky, I've met JD, and I think JD is a good face for Aikido. I think the methodology of practicing it has kind of gotten a little lost. And this kind of had like some of that same realization of perspective, where a lot of the Aikido movements are kind of based off of wrist locks and then manipulating a person's entire body from the wrist lock.
You know, sometimes you try something over and over and over again, and you think it's just not gonna work. It just kind of looks like it's not gonna be what you want it to be for the majority of the time you're doing it. And you're like, this just doesn't feel right. It's not what I wanted it to be.
But I think more so what I enjoyed was JD taking it to the ground and learning, okay, well, when everything's not moving so much and I've got, you know, you in a guard and then I break your wrist, well, that's much more likely.
Then all of a sudden, like, you're 3/4 of the way and you're like, I guess I can kind of see what it is, right? And then I feel like with most things, once you get to a certain point, if you really try, like if you give it a decent go, despite thinking maybe this isn't the most polished thing, more people then admit it. Trying to do their best, but not really sure that it is their best, and not really sure that what they're doing is even making any sense, or is, it is just now that I'm realizing I don't need to be wearing these goggles anymore, because there is no more threat to my eyeballs, but I think they make me look kind of hot, so I'll probably just keep them on. But at some point, if you try hard enough, it all kind of ties together. Did you like that? I don't want to put too much in there.
Now, last but not least, karate, the one that I've grown up with, arguably one that is like one of the biggest pieces of my life. With karate, there's so many different avenues that you can take, whether it be sparring, whether it be kata, whether it be like small, thoughtful movements that you just practice over and over again, hitting the makiwara, for example. I think karate really emphasizes like a perfection which is why sometimes it's not as useful for a lot of people because they get too hung up on smaller, perfect movements rather than making the movements work in a faster, crazier setting. Karate to me is all about focusing on the smaller movements of your body, really paying attention to the things that you're doing.
This actually works.
And the values that go with karate have always been something that I've really appreciated. We talk about the respect and the honesty and the courage that comes with being a practicer of something that is designed for you to not always be great at it. Karate is one of those styles where you can focus so much on detail that you kind of get swept up in it. But a martial art that is rooted in as much of moving as it is thinking will always have a place in my heart. And I think the thing that I've learned from martial arts through my life is that things probably won't usually go the way you want them to. You can focus a lot on it and you can learn, but the best part about the process of it usually isn't just being good at it. It's being able to do it again tomorrow.
Honestly, there's a lot of correlation between what I just did and the martial arts that I've been able to take. This is not a big project, and I don't think everything has to be a big part of your life. That doesn't mean you don't have to try it. I think what I've learned the most out of these experiences that I've had is to just try new things, because you never know what's gonna be like exactly what you need that day. In fact, most of these videos I filmed and I was like, oh, that was a cool day. Like, that was fun. And then they were like not as big of an impact in my life until I look at the whole thing. Like, when I look back and I look through these 28 videos, it's only 28 videos. When I look back and I look through these 28 videos that have happened over the last 3 years, like, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Let me go punch this thing some more.